Crochet is my favorite hobby. I started learning almost by accident because my friend's mom held a 1-hour workshop to make a coin purse. I was immediately hooked. I worked on my project all the way home and immediately started looking up different tutorials and patterns. Crochet is a textile art. It's made using a crochet hook to make interlocking loops. You use yarn, thread, or other string-like materials. It was originally invented in 17th century France to make intricate lace clothing and linens. It is not knitting. Knitting is made with 2 knitting needles. All stitches are held on the needles, while crochet you work on 1 stitch at a time. Also, knitting makes V-shaped stitches, while crochet makes knot-shaped stitches. Hooks are usually made with aluminum, plastic, or bamboo, but there are other types too, like hand-carved wooden ones. I prefer the type in the upper right here, which are ergonomic, with a softer handle, while the hook itself is still aluminum. This way I don't get blisters. Needles are usually large embroidery needles, which are used to weave in the yarn ends whenever you finish a project or change color. Stitch markers, like this little orangey one here, are used to mark the place where you're stitching or used to mark off intervals like 50 stitches so you don't lose your place. There are lots of types of yarn you can use for crochet products, mainly split into natural fiber yarns and synthetic fiber yarns. Natural fiber yarns are usually animal or plant fibers. They're generally softer but less durable. They're the more traditional kind, while synthetic fiber yarns are things like acrylic and nylon, which usually are more durable but are less soft to touch. The most common types are wool, cotton, acrylic, and polyester. I usually use acrylic for my projects just because it's the cheapest, so I don't feel bad about buying tons. There are other rare types of yarns to use too, or even things that aren't even yarn, like strips of plastic bags that can be crocheted into a laundry basket. Yarn weights are yarn thickness. They correspond to different hook sizes, as you can see from this chart. The thinner yarns use smaller hooks and are used for delicate things like baby clothes, socks, and lace, while thicker yarn and larger hooks can be used for clothing and sweaters. The hook sizes are letters and numbers, like you can see B and E and I. Those are the American sizes, while 6, 7, 8 are numbers, which are millimeters. Basic stitches are slip knot, chain stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and treble crochet. Of course there are others, but those are either more advanced or very rare. As you can see, they build up, getting taller and taller. That means each one has an extra loop or hook that makes it grow, so to speak, and they each make different looking patterns. Now I'm going to introduce them to you one by one. The slip knot is the beginning of almost all projects. It's the top 3 gifts right here. You make a knot, basically, and then you bring the loop through each knot and pull it back to create more and more loops into a chain. The single crochet is the most basic crochet. You hook your hook in, you pull it out, so you have 2 loops, and then you hook another one over it. By this makes little square stitches, and you can make giant pieces of fabric like this. In double crochet, you loop the yarn around your hook before you begin, in the same method as single crochet. And there's an extra hook back, as you can see, which makes it taller. To make half double crochet and treble crochet, you do similar steps, but repeat them so that it gets taller and taller. I know it's hard to visualize that, so here's a longer video to see how it works. This is single crochet. I usually use written patterns because they're easy to follow. There's always a key with the abbreviations for each stitch, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. And then it goes by rounds in written patterns like this. Like in Magic Ring, which is another fancy stitch, you chain 3 stitches and then you double crochet 11 times to make this first round in the center, and then it builds outwards. The written patterns are really easy to follow, but the drawback is that they can be very long. This is just the first 4 rounds. Chart patterns are harder to learn because you have to keep looking at the graph yourself, but they provide a clearer picture of the overall structure. These are often found in physical books of crochet patterns. I wanted to show you some of my projects. I really love crochet because there's so many different things you can do. You can work with other people's patterns, but you can also put your own creativity into it and create anything you want, really. These are some of my more basic projects, which are completely flat. The top one is a bubble stitch on top of double crochet. It says "This Is Me Trying," which is one of my favorite songs by Taylor Swift. The bottom one is a bunch of granny squares, which is a type of square that has lots of variations. These are sunflower ones. When I have enough, I'm going to stitch them together into a large blanket. I want you to notice the color changes here. These are done with different skeins of yarn, and all the ends have to be weaved in with embroidery needles. This ballerina is an amigurumi, which is a type of crochet, usually used for making dolls. You use mostly single crochet, which is the most dense stitch, and that stops the cotton from escaping. I made this a long time ago, and there's lots of things that I would change now, such as the neckline of the tutu, but overall it's really cute, so I still really like it. This is another animaguri. It's a turtle. The back is a Brazilian flower pattern. I can't do justice to the amazing art of crochet, so I wanted to show you guys some amazing projects that I've seen online. A lot of people make animaguris that are way more complicated than the ones I've just shown you, with complicated dragons and octopuses. These use many skeins of yarn. Some people make lifelike dolls, which is quite terrifying. This is a Finnish artist named Lisa Hinnetten. She crochets lifelike versions of her friends and neighbors, and she's made dozens of life-size figures. This, Chanel Papp, is a med student. She decided to create a life-sized skeleton anatomy doll for her to practice on.